Members of the Municipal Council in Libya's capital, Tripoli, have called for calm following those clashes on Saturday. The violence threatens 2 years of relative peace in the oil-rich nation. CGTN's Joy Kirukijuma with the details.
Libya's capital, Tripoli, at the center of a power struggle by rival governments. A state of affairs that now has the Municipal Council in Tripoli worried.
Civil society institutions in Tripoli appeal to everyone to be calm, and we remind them of the prohibition of bloodshed and intimidation of civilians, and that legal and criminal prosecution will affect everyone who was the cause of the situation in Tripoli. God preserve Libya.
Members of the Municipal Council in Tripoli have blamed the ruling political class for the deteriorating situation in the capital.
Civil society institutions in Tripoli strongly condemn the armed clashes in the city of Tripoli and hold the participating parties responsible for shedding civilian blood, intimidating security, and destroying private and public property. We also condemn the following parties: the Presidential Council, where we ask it to take its role, take the initiative and work hard to bring the state to a stage of stability. We condemn the House of Representatives and the state as well.
An emergency services spokesperson says among the fatalities was a comedian known for his social media videos mocking militias and corruption. According to Malek Marset, emergency services were still trying to evacuate the wounded and civilians trapped in the fighting. Joy Kirukijuma, CGTN.
Well, let's go live now to Libya for some analysis on these latest developments. We are joined via Skype by Dr Mustafa Fetouri, a Libyan academic and political analyst based in Tripoli. Dr Fetouri, thank you so much for your time today. We know, of course, that Libya has seen more than a decade of war and division. When you look at these recent clashes in the capital, Tripoli, what would you say is the biggest obstacle to peace in that country?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. The biggest obstacle for peace in our country, Libya, today, two things. One is the loose militias who are not under control of any government since 2011, whereby weapons are largely available in the country, and not just politically motivated militias, but also for gangs. Petty crimes and things like this are on the rise. The second most important reason that made Libya so loyalist and made peace quite difficult is the foreign intervention in the affairs of the country on an almost daily basis, particularly from the Western countries. I especially mentioned the United States and the United Kingdom, who have been interfering through their ambassadors in Libya in almost everything the government or any government, the current government or any government for that matter, is trying to do. So we have the foreign intervention, which started from 2011 when the civil war broke out because of NATO intervention in the country itself, actually. And then we have the situation of the lowlands, whereby different militias are in control of different parts of the country, including the capital, Tripoli, as we have seen during the recent clashes which just stopped last night. Yes.
I mean, there are many elements to consider. As you mentioned, the loose militia, rival factions, rival militia in the country. And whether it is with or without foreign intervention, what would you say needs to be done to bring these various parties to a negotiating table to try and resume talks for peace?
Well, first of all, and the most important step to be taken or must be taken is the fact that the mediation efforts between the different Libyan factions, either political or military, should be left entirely and completely in the hands of the UN. We had a very good UN representative over the last 2 years, the last of which was Stephanie Williams. She did a great job in different ways, but she failed because of the foreign intervention in the Libyan affairs. Different countries, including the regional countries such as Qatar and Turkey and many others, interfering in the Libyan affairs, trying to help their proxies inside, underground, for what they see as their long-term benefits or long-term interest in Libya. And of course, Libya will always be, sorry, as it has been, throughout history, will always be attractive for foreign intervention because of its abundant oil and gas resources, as well as its strategic location as an entry point into deep Africa and a potential trans-Sahara trade route into deeper Africa. So unless first of all, we have to control the arms inside the country. Second of all, all countries who are interfering in the Libyan affairs should stop that. And then some kind of carrot and a stick could be used to lure the different factions, whether politically or militarily, into the negotiating table. Actually, 2 months ago, we were very close to some kind of agreement in the constitutional basis to go out for election. But it was spoiled at the last minute, again, because of foreign pressures applied to or instructions given to local proxies.
Dr. Fetouri, thank you so much for sharing those insights, joining us there via Skype from Tripoli.